Say Shabbat Shalom this morning. There is nothing in the Bible that says we can't worship on whatever day we desire to. At one time, Solid Rock had Saturday night services, and that went very well. But we are so steeped in tradition that if it ain't Sunday morning, that it just ain't. But nonetheless, since we can't, we're having service today. I know the Jews meet on Friday nights, normally about 8 o'clock, because the Sabbath actually starts at 6 p.m. on Friday. And the local synagogue meets at 8 p.m. on Friday night. And the Catholics have a Mass a lot of times on Saturday night. I will not say why. I'm going to leave that alone. And then everybody else, well, the Seventh-day Adventists have it on Saturday morning. And most of the mainline churches have it on Sunday morning. And they all take shots at each other as to who is right and who is not. But it really doesn't matter as long as you gather to worship. Having said that, just be in prayer for a lot of people who are out sick today. And nobody knows whether they have a bad head cold or Omicron virus. Nobody knows. But all we know is that if we cough, everybody ducks for cover like somebody throwed a hand grenade. I have found that one of the best treatments for this, whatever it is going around right now, is very simple. It's Mucinex and Vicks Vapor Rub. I put some of that on night before last, and as customary, my black cat Rocky always jumps up onto my chest, gives me about a dozen kisses, and then lays on my left arm and goes to sleep. But not the night that I put Vapor Rub on. He jumped up there and leaned down, and all of a sudden his eyes got big and his nose scrunched up, and he jumped off the bed, and he hadn't been up there for the last 2 nights. So hopefully, You're trying to poison him. I know it. He looked terribly upset with me, and so I'm going to try to refrain from it tonight, and we'll see if that makes any difference at all. I want to invite your attention to Psalm chapter 3. Because quite frankly, a lot of people feel like they're just literally under attack. They're being deluged. They're being surrounded. And to the point to where people don't even want to go out of the house no more. And, I wondered, somebody's got a music box in here. What is that? Anyway, David wrote in Psalm chapter 3, Lord, how are they increased that trouble me? Many are they that rise up against me. And he felt that all the time. He lived literally under siege. And even though it may not be soldiers coming after us, it may be circumstances. It may not be worry over a virus or something. It may be a concern over other things that seem like they are surrounding you. And really, the Bible is the place to draw comfort and assurance. When I read this last night, I read 3 and 4. I never had such a peaceful sleep. He says, many there be which say of my soul, there is no help for him in God. And today you see that all the time, particularly on the news. They act as if there is no God. There is no one in charge in the heavens. And if that were true, we would definitely be in dire straits this morning. Because the only thing that we have left in charge, if there is no God in heaven, are a handful of absolute idiots in the Capitol buildings. That would be cause for great concern if there were no God. And so these people were telling David there's no help for him in God. But he says this, and David maintained his faith, but thou, O Lord, art a shield for me. And today, if you are going to keep your sanity, if you have it still, there is a fine line between, what did it say, genius and insanity. Some of y'all are smart and crazy. But if you're to keep your sanity and not worry, you got to realize that God is your shield. He's the same God that protected David is the same God that will protect you and keep you safe. It said, He is my glory and the lifter of my head. I cried unto the Lord with my voice, and He heard me out of His holy hill. Another defense that we have when we feel like we are surrounded by circumstances and all different kinds of enemies is to realize that the power of prayer is the most important and powerful weapon you've got. I preach on that when I talk about the Christian's armor, where it talks about putting all this armor on and the sword of the Spirit and the helmet of salvation and all of that. And prayer is the most neglected thing in churches and in individual Christians. They usually fall back on it. What is it, Lisa Simpson, off The Simpsons, said that prayer was the last resort of a scoundrel. When she heard Bart praying, prayer, the last resort of a scoundrel. How often do we make it that way? We wait till there's nothing else, no plan A, no plan B or C or anything else. Sound like Jimmy J.J. Walker advertising that Medicare again. That is the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet. That is the most awful thing. I don't want to go to hell for the mere fact that they're probably going to show that commercial over and over in hell. Now that I can move on. Prayer is a weapon that we neglect so badly in the churches. We rarely gather for prayer. We rarely pray at home, when in fact it's the most powerful weapon that we have. I always refer to these old black and white horror movies that they used to show. And it would show someone sitting inside a secure house, locked up tight, nothing can bother you, and you hear a noise outside in the bushes. The first thing in the horror movie now that you do, you get up and you look over at the fireplace, and there's a double-barrel 12-gauge shotgun hanging up over the fireplace, and there's a poker. What do the idiots in the horror movie do? They reach for the poker. And they take a lantern and they go outside poking in the bushes, and then you hear this scream, and then you see the lantern laying on the ground. Give you the idea that, they were an idiot. When all along you had that shotgun. Now, first of all, you ought not go out the house, but if you are going to go out the house with a shotgun. I came home one night to hear coyotes barking and yelping down in the woods. And I'm always strapped. I mean, there's no question about it. You'll never see me when I'm not strapped. I even have a bathroom gun. But I felt undergunned that night because it sounded like a bunch of them. So I go in the house and get my Mossberg 935 with an 18-inch barrel and door breaching muzzle on it and 7 loads of buckshot. Then I step back out in the yard and say, "Come to me." Because I had enough to take them all out. I wasn't afraid. And I could take them. That's the power of prayer. Don't go praying with a poker when you could pray with an automatic shotgun. Don't try to reason. The poker of human reasoning against the prayer, the shotgun of prayer. And David said, I cried unto the Lord with my voice, and He heard me out of His holy hill. He will hear you when you pray. So many people are living in absolute terror this morning. And if you are, I hate to say this, but you do not trust the Lord like you claim you do. There comes a time when enough's enough. You've got to put your trust in God and do what He has called you to do. And so he said, I cried unto the Lord and He heard me. And then I like this. I laid me down and slept. I awaked, for the Lord sustained me. The reason that any of you woke up this morning and came to church is because the Lord sustained you. He will sustain you for as long as you are fulfilling His purpose. Now, once you're done, and we never know when we're done with what God has us assigned to do. We never know. You're out of here. You leave this world, and we don't always have an explanation of why, but God does, and He'll show us one day. But if you are still fulfilling the purpose that He has set for you, He will wake you up and let you get up and go because He is sustaining you. Do not be worried or afraid. David was so bold as to say, I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people that have set themselves against me round about. And that's usually was true with him. He always had some army or another that was hot after him. And so here he writes the prayer. Arise, O Lord, save me, O my God. For thou hast smitten all my enemies upon the cheekbone. Thou hast broken the teeth of the ungodly. Salvation belongs unto the Lord. He has the power to sustain. He has the power to save. And said, thy blessing is upon thy people. He continues the thought when he said, hear me when I call, O God of my righteousness. Your righteousness, my righteousness, comes from God and God alone. We do not have any of our own. It comes from Him. David recognized that. Said, you have enlarged me, or you have relieved me when I was in distress. Have mercy upon me and hear my prayer. If you feel distressed today, or if you feel just stressed, whichever there may be, I don't know what the difference is, pray, and pray some more. Here is a real big tip, and it won't cost you anything. You won't have to mail in $19.95. You won't have to do this or jump through this hoop. I'm going to help you out right now with a huge one. Cut the news off. Turn it off. Most of you would not have to take blood pressure medicine. Donna still does because she wakes up and sees me beside her every morning, and that causes her a little problem. But she's getting better. But turn the news off. Quit watching it because it will distress you, and most of the stuff that they are telling are lies. They can't even tell the truth with the stupid weather anymore, for crying out loud. I've watched videos of CNN staging a weather situation to get ratings. I've seen them to where it looked like they were sinking in water up to their neck, when in fact they were standing in a ditch and two boys with t-shirts walked behind them on the ground over there. And I've seen them like holding to poles, and they had a fan doing the clothes, blowing their clothes. You can't trust anything that you see on TV anymore, except maybe the cartoons that come on in the morning at 7 o'clock. That's where we learned all about opera from, wasn't it? Watching Bugs Bunny. But anyway, it says, have mercy upon me and hear my prayer. O ye sons of men, how long will you turn my glory into shame? How long will you love vanity and seek after leasing? That literally means lies. But know that the Lord hath set apart him that is godly for himself. Those of you that have been made justified and made righteous in the eyes of God through the blood of Jesus Christ, I want you to understand that He has set you apart for Himself. You are His. You belong to Him. And so His covering is yours. His protection and sustaining power is yours. He has set you apart. A lot of people don't realize this. Once you're saved, you're set apart. You are pulled away from everything else, and you belong to Him, and He's going to watch out for you. It's never been a promise of an easy road, but nonetheless you have someone to travel it with you, and he will watch out for you. Know that the Lord has set apart him that is godly for himself. The Lord will hear when I call unto him. That is a guarantee that your prayers will be heard. Then he gives us another piece of advice. Stand in awe and sin not. So many times we have sin in our life that we have been messing around with, tinkering around with, and it just sucks all of the joy out of your life when you do that. And that is one reason why we have so much doubt and so much fear, because we can't see God because of what we've been doing. And so we need to put the sins aside that beset us. Stand in awe, commune with your own heart upon your bed, and be still. Now that's something I have a problem doing. I have never been able to be still since I was a little kid. I've looked at my report cards from elementary school. And even though my grades were awesome, the teacher would always remark on there, I can't sit still, I can't shut up, and I can't pay attention. I must have paid a little attention. I got straight A's most all of the elementary school. But I have a problem of being still. I still do. There are some people that, like when this snow comes tomorrow, be happy as they can be sitting and looking out the window. I got to go out in it. There ain't a thing I need, nothing I need to do. I got to go out in it. And thankfully, she's crazy enough to get in the car with me when we do that. I appreciate that. I reckon because if I get lost, you will be with me when that happens. But I can't sit still. And it gets me in trouble. A lot of times I say, oh Lord, I want you to take care of us, but hurry up. I have the Aunt Esther syndrome. One time on Sanford and Sons, this man said something to Aunt Esther, and she said, what did you say? And he said it again. And she comes after him with her Bible and her pocketbook swinging, and she said, the Lord shall smite thee, but I can't wait. And that gets me into more trouble than anything else. And that is something I'm slowly learning. I'm not going to ask God for patience, because I don't want it that way, the way that he normally gives patience. I will learn it a little bit at a time. But I have noticed that when most situations come up, if I will be still and let him handle it, it gets handled, and it gets handled well. If I try to handle it, it turns into an absolute disaster. That is why I have a very patient woman that I'm married to. She helps balance that out. She truly does. I would be dead or in prison right now if I was not married to her. She keeps me restrained. I'll leave it at that. Then he says, offer the sacrifices of righteousness and put your trust in the Lord. Do what is right as becomes a righteous person. Live in the way that the righteous people are supposed to live, and put your trust in the Lord. There is absolutely nothing on this earth that you can put your trust in except the Lord. And so quit trying to do that, because every time you put your trust in something other than the Lord, it will disappoint you every single time. There be many that said, who will show us any good? Lord, lift up the light of your countenance upon me. It is our job to show the world that there is a God, and that God is good, and it needs to be reflected in the way we live our lives. You have put gladness in my heart more than in the time that the corn and the wine increased. And what that means is, if you have the Lord, if you have Jesus in your life, it is far better than any riches or any prosperity that you can ever have. I like what Mary always says. She says, I live on the edge. If y'all want to know what that means, sit down with her and talk, and you will leave terrified at what this lady has to deal with at times and still make it and still make do and all of that. She's an amazing inspiration and always has been. And when some people will whine about this and whine about that, Mary will whisper to me sometimes, they just don't know anything about living on the edge. But you will find if you have Jesus, you can live as close to that edge as you can get, and you're still going to have joy in your life. You're still going to be happy. And then finally, he said, I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. There is nothing like closing your eyes at night and knowing that God's got this. He does. There is nothing to fear when you have him in your life. I know we're hit with fear more than I turned when did I turn 65?
On the 4th.
On the 4th. That's right. See, I can't even remember my birthday now. I'm so old. I'm just laughing. I know a lot of y'all in here a lot older than me. Well, you'll forget what I said anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I done forgot where I was going with this. Oh my. Huh? Fear, thank you. Okay. That's right. Very good. We are inundated by fear on every side. Every time you turn on the radio, look at the newspaper, turn on the TV or anything, just about fear, 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 fear. And you hear it from your friends, you hear it from your loved ones. And the whole, and I know what it was I was going to say. I'm 65 and I've never seen fear on this level in my entire life. Not even in any of the wars that we have been through. And people are just simply not putting their faith in God. And they're just terrified. And the devil knows it too well. Let me share a scientific fact. It is a known scientific fact that fear will destroy your human immune system. It will make you open to anything that comes along when you are filled with fear. That is a known scientific fact. And don't think that the devil doesn't realize that. He even had the nerve to go up to God when God said, have you considered my servant Job? And the devil looked at God and said, skin for skin, a man will give everything he has to preserve his life. He said, you do this and you do that, and he'll curse you to your face. And God said, you're on. But Job was a man who truly trusted in God and was in no fear of even his own safety as far as God was concerned, because he knew that no matter what happened, and nobody in here has ever faced what Job has faced, no matter what happened, God has this. Once Christians start understanding that fact, the churches will begin to rise again and regain their power that they should have had all along. And people will no longer be afraid of what the devil can do, but they will more fear God and what he's able to do through the power of prayer. Shall we stand?
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the sweet though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear that music ringing. It finds an echo in my soul. How can I What though my joys and comforts die? I know my Savior liveth. What though the darkness gather round? Songs in the night He giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that refuge clinging, since Christ is Lord of heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? I lift my eyes, the cloud grows thin, I see the blue above it, and day by day this pathway smooths, since first I learned to love it. The peace of Christ makes fresh my heart, a fountain ever springing, for all things are mine since I am His. How can I keep from singing? No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that refuge clinging, for all things are mine since I am His. How can I keep